Hey, thanks for joining us, Thanpolas, Faulty Poker. Super excited to have you guys on the show, hear about your, what you guys are building. You guys are well-known, community devs, and we're excited to be able to hear and see what you guys are doing. So I figure we can just kind of kick it over to you guys, give us whatever kind of background you want to about yourselves, but then let's get into what you guys are building.
All right, thank you. Hello, my name is Thanos. That's my real name. I'm fully doxxed. I'm a software engineer. I'm now in my 40s. I've retired out of the Web2 space after a very rewarding career. I've been doing last 10 years CTO jobs on early stage startups, helping them get through from 0 to 10. I discovered DeFi and decided to go full in on that, and has been a very rewarding journey. And I started mingling with DeFi Kingdom since September of 21. And it's been somewhere in the first quarter of this year that I transitioned into working full-time on DeFi Kingdoms, producing content, services, and tools.
Awesome. And
my name's Faulty Poker. I am in my late 20s. I used to be a professional poker player prior to COVID. All the casinos in my area closed, so I started to get into crypto a lot. It had already been something very prevalent in the poker community, so finally I basically used my time off from poker to look into crypto, and it's been a lot of fun. I got into DeFi Kingdoms in, I believe, late November, and I got really into summoning in the early January, and then I started creating content around summoning, and my approach for summoning was always, pretty math-based, and I didn't use intuition pretty much at all for my summoning videos, and people seemed to really enjoy that. And eventually we created a service completely around it, around reducing the work that it takes to analyze summoning pairs.
Awesome. Should we jump into that one then first, or because I think there's two products here, kind of you guys are working on, right?
Yeah. So the only product that I'm working on is DFKSolver, and this is intended to be a suite of calculators that reduce the amount of analytical work that you'd have to do to make optimal decisions in DeFi Kingdoms. Specifically around summoning is what we're starting with. And what we're able to do right now, especially for Gen 0 holders, this is a big one, is we're able to effectively query the entire rental market and provide you the top 5 most profitable rental matches available to you, including all fees, tavern fees, etc., and factoring in all of the possible combinations you could summon and their values.
Very cool. So, do you want to? Oh, go ahead, Bloater.
I was just curious, Faulty, how much of that sits on chain versus on a centralized DFK server?
I can answer that. So right now we are querying the API. The API indexes the blockchain, but in the background we are building our own indexer to not have to query the DFK's API. So we have everything on a local database, and we can query faster, and we can perform more massive and complicated calculations.
But is it fair to say DFK keeps all game data on chain?
100%.
Yeah, everything you need is right there on the blockchain.
Huh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, I don't want to derail this conversation and talking about, but do you think that's a good thing? And as opposed to maybe games that have more off-chain, maybe you're a lot more efficient, don't have to approve every single transaction. I always wondered why is everything on chain with DeFi Kingdoms? Is there a real big benefit to that? And I just don't have the developer background to understand wow, this is actually a really big deal and it's a huge benefit, or is it yeah, it's okay, but it is kind of cumbersome? And if this is a much larger conversation, let's table it and talk about it another time, because I really want to I want to focus on what you guys are building. But it's just something.
No, it's all right. It's all right. I'll attempt a quick response to that. First of all, this is the avant-garde. Okay, we are breaking barriers, we're breaking walls. This hasn't been accomplished or established before. So we are at the spearhead of innovation in terms of what is going on with gaming. Now, what I can say is that, you know, there's this rule on crypto: not your keys, not your tokens, not your assets. So anything that's centralized is effectively takes away from that. So if questing was centralized and you would get the rewards in form of tokens on a database on a server, those wouldn't be yours, right? You wouldn't have custody of them. And
But what
that's
about
what
like
I believe.
what about like an NFT, like Take Heroes, for example? Could the NFT itself live on chain, your token, your key, etc., but the information about it live off chain and be able to query like an endpoint that doesn't live on chain? Like, where does all the data sit? Does it sit in a smart contract? Because there's no on-chain quote server, right? So do you have to hit a smart contract that has the entire rental in the smart contract?
Correct. Then it's the same principle again. It's a little bit more nuanced. Like if the properties of what make the NFT and give its value are not on the chain, and they're on a server that can go down, can be
That's fair.
confiscated, can crash, can burn, is really yours.
I don't think that going the centralized route of having basically a single entity control everything that you go and that you basically swap into and swap out of really fits with the Web3 culture. I think that's more of like a Web2 trying to adopt or trying to gain attention from the Web3 community. I don't think that that's really embracing the technology. I think that's just trying to add that as a feature onto one of your existing, what you can already do. I don't see the benefit in it, essentially.
Fair.
Interesting.
Fair. Okay. Sorry about that little tangent. So do you wanna get into this the solver program?
Yeah, we could.
You want me
Well,
to,
what we can do is we
share your
can
screen or?
showcase a couple uses of the solver, pretty much the workflow that a summoner would need to use in order to quickly determine profitable summoning pairs. So what we're going to do here is we're at the portal, you know, our favorite place to be in DeFi Kingdoms, at least for me. We're going to do a couple of Gen 0 summons here. What we're going to do is we'll do this Thief Seer here. This is a Thief Seer Fisher. It's only performed 5 summons, so only 16 costs to summon here. And what we're going to do is we're going to note our ID, so it's 1228. Then we're going to switch over to Discord. So this is the DFKSolver Discord here. This is our service. It's free for everybody to come join if they'd like to. And then they just navigate over to the bot spam channel right here. And you can see people are using it. We have a couple of features actually available, but the one that we're going to show right now is going to be EV Rent. And what this does is you basically input your ID, which I've already forgotten. It is 1228. Okay. So you input your ID. And what it's doing is it's querying the entire rental market. It's factoring in what their summoning fees are, what their genes are. It's creating multiple matrices of value charts, essentially. And it's running all the possible fees and then getting your average expected profit per summon attempt. So the TLDR is we use EV Rent. We type in our ID. It returns us the 5 rentals that are the most profitable to summon available right now. And then it tells us how much it costs to summon. And then it tells us how much we expect to make.
So does the expected profit factor in like, hey, I'm going to summon 4 bad outputs and then 1 really good output? And how does that quantified, or how do we convey meaningful expected profit if they're only summoning once?
Yeah, so this is the long-term profitability of this exact decision point. So if you're able to repeat this exact decision point in this current market conditions 1,000 times, on average, you'd be expected to make, you know, from our best pair would be 90 joules.
Got it.
it weighs them all based on their occurrences. So each type of hero I refer to as a combination of attributes, essentially, and that's what they all really boil down to. And you can assign values to each one of those combinations, and you can determine how frequently each one occurs, and then that'll all add up to 100%, and it'll get your average expected profit, essentially. Because for each possible outcome, we're weighing we're weighing how much that outcome would be valued at, what the net result of that would be. Let's say if it was like minus 20 joule, plus 50 joule, etc.
Did you consider maybe giving a range for expected profit, or at least providing a parameter input to say, I'm going to summon 10 times, or just so that, you know, is it possible I lose money on this if I get a bad summon, you know, stuff like that? Have you considered that?
Yeah,
or
so when we use that's kind of getting into another couple of our commands. When we use EV pair and you type in two specific hero IDs, such as, you know, 1228 and 881. Not a great example of Gen 0 pairs because there's not many factors to consider. But here would be the total cost of a pair, including all fees, rental fees, summoning fees, hiring fees, and tavern fees are covered in the expected profit. But it would tell you all the information that you need to know, including all of your fees, and just give you your average expected profit. So every fee that is relevant is considered.
Got it.
So is this the expected profit? Is there like a sample size it's using for the average? Is it 1,000? Is it?
It's going through every possible combination. So there's it ranges between 200 and 300 combinations usually for each.
Okay, so what it does
It's
is
just
like
on what's available.
every possible outcome for those two heroes, it takes all of those, it assigns a value based off of what it pops out, rarities, class, subclass, and then it scrapes current market data and
Yep.
and kicks out a okay. And then
Yeah,
it
so
averages all of those.
This is built on top of our floor command, which you can use to evaluate the value of any hero. So
right, we've been working for at least a month on this component, which is very critical, the floor price calculator for heroes. How much does my hero cost? You know, it answers this question, which isn't an easy problem to solve. And
right.
We have this on beta for at least a month on our guild's Discord. Now it's free to use on the DFKSolver Discord. And it is the cornerstone, the underlying fundamental of these calculations that you see here.
Yeah, so we got our prediction as, we got a conservative prediction for the value of specific combinations that we use for assigning values to combinations. So the expected profit that you can get that is delivered to you is a conservative estimate, but we figured it was better to be conservative when predicting the prices of heroes rather than be overly aggressive, which would skew your EV towards probably negative EV combinations or pairs.
So let's look at this one that just got pinged there. So low confidence, estimated price is 47 joule, tavern floor is 450 joule. What does that mean? Maybe I'm misreading that.
So this is a Gen 3 foraging wizard common. So it's a floor hero. You know, it's a floor forager essentially. It's estimating the price to be 47 joule, which I think is accurate in current tavern conditions. It's saying the time weighted average for this specific combination is a bit higher than that, and it's saying that the literal tavern floor for a level 3, you know, 8 out of 8 common wizard foraging Gen 3. Yeah, so, but the price that it's using is this estimated price here. So even though the literal tavern floor is completely off, and we can all easily agree on that, the predicted price is fairly accurate, I would say.
The time-weighted average is, it does a lookup on the historic sales of this particular combination of the hero, and then it averages weighted based on how past in the history it found the hit. So a more recent sale has more importance as a price indicator than a sale that happened a month ago.
Does the rental smart contract have historical sales in it, or are you logging it yourself?
That's sales. That's sales. Don't rent.
Yeah,
This
that
is
would be
sales.
sales, not
Sorry,
rentals.
apologies. Does the historical sales smart contract maintain historical information?
No. This is the first indexer we have employed. This is our own data.
Got it.
Yeah, so that's data that we're collecting and then using essentially.
How often are you querying or hitting it to get sales information?
Well, it's basically real time. The moment any sale happens, we record it.
Got it.
Yeah, and you could just now summon a hero and then right away use the floor value, the floor command to evaluate the hero values. So it's pretty.
So you get immediate feedback on.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And
Very
it's
cool.
essential for it to be immediate feedback because for all of these calculations, the current tavern conditions are extremely important, and all of this data needs to be calculated at the time of your summon attempt. Otherwise, stale data just isn't going to be accurate or useful.
So do you find it frustrating? I mean, and it's kind of a reality of Web3, but if Harmony's down or if Harmony's slow, your product is obviously directly affected by that. How do you feel about that? What do you do about that?
Well, as a matter of fact, we are not much affected by that because our program utilizes like 10 different RPCs endpoints, and it's smart enough to detect which one has a problem and which one works. And in the case of a problem, it will automatically retry. So the worst that can happen on the experience we provide is a slight delay to the end user. Now, whether the end user is going to be able to summon or not, that's out of our scope.
So your server's free. Well,
for now.
For now, okay. So is this like a? I guess is it a?
It's an open beta until the mid of June, like 2 weeks.
Okay. Yeah, this is just us testing our minimum viable product essentially. So this is like the minimum that we can deliver right now, and we're testing it to see how people like it, see how it handles everybody using it, to ensure its accuracy, and to field customer feedback.
So how do you envision it? Do you envision it being like a monthly sub, a pay per like a certain amount of searches or command queries, like, or is that something you're still trying to figure out?
Well, we are trying to figure it out. We do have some idea now. We didn't have any idea a week ago. This is going to start as a flat monthly, and we're going to develop the needed accounting system, which is going to measure what we call the unit expended. The unit expended is a single match. So the EV per command that Faulty tried, where you have two hero IDs, that is a single combination. When you run the EV rent command, you run your hero against 500 rentals. So those are 500 hits. So we're gonna create tiers. We don't know exactly what those tiers will be. That will depend on usage. So what we have a very small package, a medium package, and a large package for the big rollers on a monthly basis.
But to start, we'll most likely start with a flat monthly fee for unlimited usage, essentially.
Yeah.
Which is great for any high volume summoner out there.
Got it.
This is cool. I often find myself. I know there's several like manual tools you can use. I usually end up. Just because this was like one of the first sites that made it available for free was DFKing. I would search for my main filter is like I'm looking for recessive main class aligned, DR1 aligned. So
yeah.
But it is a hassle every time I want to go summon or rent. It's like, okay, like, I'm plugging it in, refreshing the query every single time, making minor adjustments, and so this is really cool.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're aiming to do, is to reduce or eliminate the time needed to analyze summoning pairs. Because I mean, trust me, I've done lots of summoning, and it's become easier and easier over time thanks to things like this that we've been making. But it used to take a lot of time to evaluate each summoning pair.
Absolutely. The way we did it, and that's where this whole thing started from, is that Faulty developed a spreadsheet where he would eventually enter 2 hero IDs and get the EV. Now, to build that spreadsheet, a lot of infrastructure would happen. Like we would collect the entire rental market, crank it up, fetch it, put it on the spreadsheet in real time, quickly move to add the pairs. And this, we've done this 1,000 times. And at some point we decided, hey, why don't we make this a product? And that's when the team formed, and that is me, Faulty. Faulty is the brains behind this entire operation. And Antonidas, who is also a developer, he has developed the analytics dashboard, if you've noticed, if you've seen it, where you get to see the total emissions and the total tokens, gold, etc. It's all diagrams and charts. The website.
Was it
I don't know if
that
you've seen it.
is it the one? It's like the Vercel like site. Like,
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
that's cool. That's a really
that's the
cool.
one.
Yeah,
Really
it shows
cool
you
data.
the circulating.
It's like
Supply.
everything, right?
Of
It's like
yeah.
every token, every in-game item emitted. It's really cool.
Yes.
Yeah, it was really awesome to look at that site when pet hatching went live to see the stark drop in gold and
The fishes.
the consumables needed for hatching.
Yeah.
So Thanos, I'm actually curious. So DFK currently Jules trading at 42 cents. Obviously a lot of macro conditions. Jules suffered obviously individually. As a third-party developer, you're tying your fate directly to the fate of DFK. And so the question I have, I guess, is, do you see DFK's return as inevitable? How do you view your work and Faulty as well, your entire team? How do you view your work knowing that, hey, we could do amazing work and it could blow up, or, it could, like I said, or maybe DFK's return to prominence is inevitable, or maybe this price, you view it as a healthy price. What do you have conversations about that? Do you have concerns about that, or you just simply, move forward, especially with your
Well,
experience, multiple startups, like you said, you're being a CTO, you've seen life cycles many times.
yeah, I have, but that's a different entirely industry. I don't have the kind of experience on crypto, but I am confident. I am hopeful that we're in a very bad cycle. Okay, everybody knows that. That has been established at this point. My outlook is 12 to 18 months at this point. That's my horizon in terms of where I'm aiming here. And there are certain aspects and degrees that I'm comparing to other projects that, going from 0 to 10 is easy. You just play it cool on your Discord. You give away a few things. You make a few contests. You ask some people to invite other 5 people, and you give them a whitelist. That's the easy part. Growing your business from 10 to 100, that's the hard part, and that is the long road. And that is what DFK is going through now. Whereas none of the other GameFi projects have even reached the point of 10 that would now need to scale up their operations.
Sure.
All right. So that's for me is a very distinctive, item that I keep away from. And I have where my experience, comes in is understanding the operations behind what is going on and what is said in terms of the engineering operations and how those are going. And that's why I'm basically committing my significant resources and time onto DFK.
Now, Faulty, really quick follow-up for you. So did you become a professional developer after poker crashed, or is this a skill set you had in addition to being a professional poker player?
Well, I wouldn't really even refer to myself as a developer. I'm not writing code or anything, but I do sit in a lot of meetings and I give a lot of helpful notes, and I work with developers to
so you're providing all this logic, right? You're the
essentially
mastermind on the logic.
He's the brains, the analysis.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm more of an analysis guy than any kind of coder.
Awesome.
This is really cool. I'm gonna definitely try this out. I have some Gen Zeros coming off cooldown today, so.
Oh yeah, I highly recommend that you rent to fill your pairs with Gen Zeros. You can use the commands available here to see why that is. In short, if you have 2 Gen Zeros that you own and their expected profit to summon together is 75 Joule, and at a cost of 60 Joule, you know, but you're expected to make 75 Joule, that's great. But if you rented to fill those 2, you'd get 2 summon attempts, and let's say you make 50 Joule per summon attempt, you know, that's 100 Joule total for your 2 Gen Zeros instead of 75 for the 2. So that's something I've been advocating to my guildmates for months now, and it just makes the most sense. I highly recommend you guys, unless you're not summoning for profit, of course, if you're trying to make, you know, specific cosmetic traits, or maybe you're trying to grow your legion of subclass aligned heroes or something, then of course it might be better for you to summon together. But when it comes to summoning for profit, it's very clear that renting to fill your pairs is the clear, in a way, better choice.
Awesome. We will. I'm, you know, definitely going to include a link to what's the, is it? I guess it's the Discord server. That's like the quote product, right? So, and just so people know, like there are like affiliate links. This is not a paid shill, and so we don't plan. We'll just be straight up posting the vanilla link so that you can access it. Inner Grove does not benefit from this, but we are very invested in seeing the, you know, the community grow and seeing what community developers are building for the community. So is there anything else you want to talk about this, or should we jump over to the other one?
Well, we could perform 2 summons real quick with tooling if you'd like.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
All right.
And while you're pulling those up, I will just note to people like that I mean, this is all statistical. Like these are, you know, statistics, averages here. So like obviously you could summon and make less than the expected profit if you just immediately sold it. So just, I mean, that's how statistics work. And
Right.
so I just hope, you know, I just want to make that clear, because like, you know, there's irrational people that don't read and don't think a lot of times, and they'll just be like, well, I didn't, you know, you said I was going to make 75, I paid for this, and you said I was going to make 75 Joule profit on average. Like that's not how statistics work. So I just want to also like throw that out there.
Yeah, and we intend to display as we improve on the commands and issue new commands for users to use. We're definitely going to display the frequency that you win for a target summon attempt. So each of these here listed would say maybe like 75%, 60%, 90%, and maybe then it leaves it up to the user to decide to sacrifice some expected value to choose a pair that maybe wins less total on average, but wins more frequently. That's something that people can consider for their own risk.
Yeah, you know,
tolerance.
something that would be really cool. Maybe another thing, and I don't mean to like, I'm sure you guys have thought through all these different things. Something that might be cool is like a min max, like based off of all the possible solutions, this would be the worst possible outcome, and like the best one, which would be obviously like some sort of advanced mythic, advanced passives and actives. I guess maybe kind of like the bookends, you know.
Yeah, that's definitely some of the information we want to aim to provide for sure. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and 1228, we're going to do the EV rent, get our best match. 1228. And then we also intend to, on the EV pair, show you the most common specific combinations. So you could see like, oh, I'm going to summon a common archer forager most frequently and stuff like that. So 881, we're going to spend a total of 59 Joule, and we're going to be expected to profit about 90 Joule on average. So 881, we're going to hire to fill our pair. All right, for some reason the API messes up, but after 3 applies, I was able to get there. So this is a pirate miner. So this is a unconventional pair. This is something that you may not have even discovered if you didn't use EV Rent, but essentially this pair is profitable because we're trying to make thief miners. Thief miners go for a premium. So I'm going to begin the summon here.
Yeah, this is cool because I think most people, it's just they would only ever summon their thief with an archer.
Yeah, they just go for the easy mutation pairings essentially. So something that I want to do here is I want to showcase the combination thing that I was talking about. This is not available yet, but the information it provides will be available soon. Soon enough that I think it's worth showing. Here, you're going to want to ignore pretty much this information up here, but you can see how it's going to be showing like win percentage, summon cost. It's not accurate right now, but what is accurate here is the chance for these combinations. And so this is like a common pirate mining. It's expected to be worth about 95 joule. I'm going to hit that 10% of the time. You know, common thief mining, it's expected to be worth about 155 joule. I'm going to hit that 9% of the time. So when you actually see the combinations that you're most likely to hit, it explains where this expected value is coming from. But
Why do thief miners have a premium?
Yeah, thief mining makes sense to have a premium because dark knight minings have a premium.
Wow.
So here we go. And then once we open our hero, we'll be able to use the /floor command on the ID to immediately figure out about how much we have won or lost, because we'll know the value of our hero and we'll know how much it costs to summon. So really all you need to summon profitably would be Discord and DeFi Kingdoms. You don't need any other. Here we got a uncommon pirate hoping for mining. Fishing, unfortunate. So then we're going to go back over to the DFKSolver, and I copied my ID. We're going to /floor, type in our ID. Already, the hero is just summoned, and it's got a value for it. It expects it to be worth about 120 joule, and at that price, on our 59 joule summoning fee, that's about a 55 joule profit. So not bad for sure. I got one more summon attempt I'd like to go into. Do you guys have any questions?
Let's cut it short. Faulty, sorry about that, but we're pressed for time.
Oh yeah, sounds good.
Let's this is really awesome. I would love to see another one, but I also want to make sure we touch on the other project.
Check out Faulty's YouTube channel. He's
I'm on Faulty Poker on YouTube. People have told me I've given away a lot of great alpha, and this would be my greatest alpha I'm now giving away when it comes to summoning.
Nice. We'll include a link to your channel too.
Thank you.
All right, so very cool. This is really interesting. Love to see stuff like this being built. Thanos, I know you're working on something too. Is this something, DIFKY, is this something that you and Faulty are working on together, or is this just you? Is it a different team?
No, this is just me.
So tell us about it. I know you've submitted a grant proposal for it, and so there's some details there, but maybe just if you want to get into high level.
So DIFKY is an autoquester, a quality of life bot, basically, that automates all sorts of mundane tasks of DeFi Kingdoms for you. And I've been working on this since basically October. It was available only to my guild at first, and now I have made it a public service. It's a product that anybody can start working at. And what it does is basically automates the mundane task of having to manage your heroes, and the main target group are large hero holders.
So so it's auto questing. It's like it's helping to automate that, which I mean, I'll be one of the first to admit, questing can be, especially with a large hero pool, it is time consuming. It is, and it's I mean, it's a drain on my day.
Time consuming and tedious.
Yeah. And I will just say, like, I know, this show, we're not affiliated with DeFi Kingdoms, but I know that DeFi Kingdoms has opinions and views on auto questing, and I don't think there's been any official policy issued. Like, there's no, at least that I'm aware of, like blacklisting or anything. I know a lot of people use auto questers. So, but obviously that's out there, but like, I mean, that's maybe some of the things we could talk about, because I think this is an important issue, and you raise a lot of these, Thanos, in your grant proposal that I think are very important. So if you want to maybe, I don't know, how do you want to approach this? If you want to talk more about what exactly it is, how it's used, and then maybe we can talk about some of those hotter topics.
Well, I'd like to talk less about the feature set and more around the rationale behind it and why it's important for the ecosystem and the community.
Perfect.
So, yeah, what everybody has now come to understand is that it is a tedious process. It is totally not rewarding to have to quest 50 plus users. It's a mindless click fest, basically. And you have to revolve your life around DeFi kingdoms if you are to properly manage your assets. And that cannot be the expectation of the game. All right. And the problem is that as new features come out, they add up to that problem instead of taking away. And there are little quality of life features that have landed. The Quest version 2 core contract that landed with the training quests took out of the quality of life by limiting the player to queue up to 5 batches of heroes, whereas the oldest one allowed you to queue unlimited batches. So you're even in a more narrow spot now as a large hero holder. And we need to understand and appreciate being in the feet of a large hero holder and the fact that based on the roadmap or the current roadmap, pretty much any engaged user and player today is going to become a large hero holder within 6 months. So if the only rewarding, gameplay you have today on the game is to summon, and that's it basically, you're going to summon and you're going to make your 10 heroes 20, your 20 heroes 40, and 40 heroes 100 within 4 to 5 months. Okay, it's not going to be fun questing 100 heroes and leveling them, especially the way leveling up happens, which is one by one with a delay.
Yeah, you can't do multiple, like you got to wait, complete the meditation, then start the next one. It's a hassle.
It's a very big hassle, right? And so what happens is that both automations maintain the web of the ecosystem rather than hurt it, right? So you retain the large hero holders because now for them, they discover new gameplays within the game. So since they don't have to devote resources and time on mindlessly clicking, they now consider they have lives. And basically the average age of the DFK player is above 30. Most of the players that I am interacting with have families, have kids, have work, life. They're not like 22-year-olds, 18-year-olds living on top of their game 24/7. So this is very important for them to be able to play the game the way it's meant to be played, which is devote their focus and resources on figuring out how to summon a hero with tentacles, or how to best level up for PvP, or how to create their best set of PvP, squads. And that's the main rationale behind why I moved forward with making this public, as well as at the same time leveling the playing field, because I'm also very deep into the developers community of DFK. I'm an admin on the developers Discord, which is unofficial. And every single developer has their own version of an autoquest. And I know people are selling their autoquesters to either people or groups. And I know people have been commissioned to build autoquesters. Okay, they receive 5 figures to build a quester. So why keep this service to the elite few and not make it a public service? Level the playing field.
Yeah, you talk about this in your grant proposal, this concept of maximum extractable value, and how on the ETH world and that ecosystem, it was a big issue, and is a big issue with people that can access and with whether bots and scripts and whatnot, essentially have an advantage over other people. And I mean, that's essentially what happens if, I think that's what you're getting to, right? Is like if somebody with 400 heroes goes and like commissions a let's say, like, let's take it a dramatic example, has 1,000 heroes, and they're a developer themselves, and they create an autoquest, or they're winning every single leaderboard. They're, their guys are maximum level. They're just going to always be ahead of the guys with, like, casually have summoned up to 60, 70 heroes, especially now when summoning's so cheap because the price of Jewel is so cheap. And they're manually questing, and it's to the point where it's like, I have time to get on once a day and queue up my heroes, and that's it. And the gap between those two players just grows and grows over time.
Correct. And that's the thing, that the more your hero is leveled up, the faster the pace is towards the next level. So
Yeah, it snowballs.
Yes.
So, one thing I think some people, I have a lot of thoughts about it, but, like, one thing people think is like, hey, well, but if everybody in the world autoquests, like, doesn't that just, one, we're gonna get slammed with a lot more materials on the market. Most of them are probably just going to be, like, auto sold, maybe turned into Jewel, maybe then sold further into US dollar, or what, some sort of stable coin. Do you think that's a concern?
Sorry, I didn't catch the chain of how we reached to
I guess
Jewel.
so I guess this concept of, like, okay, say you've got just everyone in the world is like, you know what, I don't have time for this anymore. So auto quest my guys. I'm gonna get all my milkweed. I'm gonna get all my materials, and let's just sell them, like, every week or every day. Like, let's just sell it, and I'll just, like, kind of turn this into a passive income machine for me. And there's obviously this is an extreme example, because there's always going to be
no, that's right. That's a good example. I mean, this happens. There's nothing you can do about it, but it's a spectrum. It's not black or white. Okay, you're going to have this sort of players, and you're going to have the players that are dedicated and engaged. Those are basically the bulk of the players today on DF Kingdoms, considering the tree has been shook multiple times. Okay, all the weekends have left the building. So what you're going to get is a more meaningful gameplay. And first of all, auto questing is not for everyone. It does require some degree of competence in managing your IP, because for DFK to run, it requires that you input your private key. There's a trustful relationship between the client and me personally that has to exist. Not many people can take that risk. There is another service, DFK Earn, that eliminates that trust by having a trustless solution where you deposit your heroes on a contract deployed on the blockchain that is verifiable, is open source, and you can be sure that. But it's a different proposition. There are many pros and cons to compare between those two services. And at the end of the day, the game becomes more enjoyable. Now, one thing to note is that the large hero holders and the people that are going to become large hero holders are going to become through the venues of putting their income streams out of the rewards they get into summoning. So how people became large hero holders was not by infusing money into DFK, but rather the rewards they got, the jewel they unlock, the heroes they sell, all of this revenue stream goes back into summoning heroes, so they grow their hero base. So the large hero holders are maintaining the economy and are one of the strongest, most staunch supporters of DFK, contrary to common belief. Okay, and that is the effect that I believe is going to happen for every player that's engaged in DFK, like 90% of them, is that they're going to funnel their rewards back into the game in the form of summoning, growing their hero base, and going like that. There are going to be players that sell everything, we know that. And we know that people have capitulated, they've sold their entire hero base, they've sold their Gen Zeros. We've seen this happen. That's why we're at 0.42. Cents.
Yeah, my example is definitely extreme. And if it ever gets to a point where everyone is willing to autoquest and sell everything they get, that's more an issue of the game doesn't have enough utility.
Yeah, at that point, we are.
That's not an issue really with auto questing. That's just an issue with
the game.
the game just must not be fun or appealing enough that people want to play it, and so they just want to just sell everything. So yeah, definitely an extreme example, but okay. So one thing you caught my attention. So you said, so how does it work exactly? Because you mentioned the DFK earn one. So is yours, you download, is it a program and then they have to input their private key? Is that
Yes,
what you said?
mine is basically it's a binary distributable. It gets distributed through a chain of trust. I sign the binaries to my public PGP key, and my PGP key is published on Keyring, and it's also embedded into the program, so you can verify that the binary you get is the binary that I have signed. So that's a chain of trust. You run the program on your local computer, and it's recommended that you run it on a Raspberry Pi, even better if you are committed to this long term. Many are making the transition right now because it's safer and more secure to have it on a Raspberry Pi rather on your personal computer that you download stuff, you run applications, you might have viruses, malicious programs.
Can I stop you real quick? I don't know what Raspberry Pi is. What is that?
Raspberry Pi is a mini computer. It's basically the size of a small box that is a full computer containing RAM, CPU. It is an ARM architecture. ARM architecture is one of the most energy efficient. The latest Apple M1 chip is ARM architecture. I don't know if I'm blowing up your minds, but I'm very excited about these technologies.
No, this is, I just, I'm assuming there will probably be others that may not know what that is. So
Right.
So what if you don't have that though? Like I've just got my gaming rig.
No, it's okay. I mean, you keep
risks of.
Well,
is there more risk of having it just on my like personal computer that I play games on and do work on?
Yeah, it is more risk having this on your gaming computer. It is the same kind of risk you are assuming by having your MetaMask wallet on this computer. Yeah. It's exactly the same thing, because what DFKY is going to ask you for when you run it for the first time is the private key of the account. The private key is not your seed phrase. The seed phrase for your MetaMask controls all of your accounts. You can create multiple accounts, okay, multiple wallets on your MetaMask. The private key controls a single wallet. So there's a few clicks you make on MetaMask for a particular wallet that you can extract the private key. You get the private key, you put it on DFKY. DFKY now is able to sign transactions on your behalf. DFKY will store this private key by encrypting it on your hard drive. And that is the way it operates on a fundamental level.
Okay. Unless you had something further to say about that, I had a couple other questions.
The only thing that I'd like to add is that we recommend that you create a new account and you don't use an existing account. It is a dedicated account only for this job. So you create a new account, you move
create a new MetaMask account.
Yeah, move a little bit of one over there, move your heroes over there, put it on DFKY and have it start questing.
And yeah, that way you would limit your risk to be just that wallet that you provided the private key for.
Because if I've given you a private key, and then the public address would be like your OX address. This isn't I'm not saying this is going to happen, but like to the extent a private key gets compromised, the rest of your private keys under your same quote MetaMask account, which would be governed by your 12 seed phrases. So your 12 seed phrases can generate 100 accounts or whatever.
Yeah.
The private key that people will provide in DFKY will just be one of those. And if, let's just say, catastrophic scenario, that gets compromised somehow, whether by something you did, not you, like the user, that it's just that account that's compromised. It's not your entire MetaMask. But if your seed phrases get compromised, everything's compromised.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, correct. That's correct.
Cool. Yeah, you shouldn't have any need to ever use your seed phrase for anything aside from setting up a wallet for the first time.
So I guess just real quick in terms of functionality, it's like what can and can't you do? Can I be like, all right, I don't want these guys to level up, just send them foraging forever, never level them up. These guys are going to be my combat guys. I definitely want them leveling up, but in the meantime, have them doing trading quests. And these guys gardening, and this, like, is it like fully
Yeah,
functional like that?
everything you described, yes, is possible. Yes.
And how do people input that? Is there like, is it?
So there are two interfaces. The one is the command line. DFK basically operates from the command line. It's like command from the command line that you type, DFK and the command. But the main interface, that more user-friendly interface, is through Discord. So when you sign up for the service, you get a private channel with your bot. Inside that, it's only you, your bot, and me as an admin of the server, but also to provide support. And as you run the bot, you get the meaningful output, the report of that bot into your channel. So it reports, I finished questing, this is your report, this is your rewards, etc., etc. And you control your bot through Discord. You give commands like, this and this and this hero are going to do the XYZ training quest. This hero I want to level up. This hero I want to, you have all sorts of commands. It's like total control of your heroes. You can summon, you can level up, you can sell heroes, you can buy heroes. Some are happening from the command line because on the threat and risk analysis, one of the driving mitigating factors has been limiting the blast radius factor, which is exactly what you described before, is that, the worst case scenario, your private key gets compromised. What do you lose? You don't lose all of your accounts. You lose a single account. In the same manner, your Discord account gets compromised. What do you lose? Nothing. You won't be able to move heroes, or you won't be able to sell heroes from Discord. This can only happen from the command line, right? And this, there are particularly quality of life features. Large hero holders tend to break out their heroes into multiple accounts for reasons that are out of scope right now, but we allow them then to move heroes in bulk between accounts. Like you select them through a checkbox, move 10 heroes to this account, move your entire inventory of items, like there are 30 plus odd items, move all of them onto a single account out of my 5-10 accounts. These are processes that to do from the UI are excruciating time consuming. Okay, imagine you have 5 accounts times 30 items each, and you want to collect all of your items into a single account. Think about this process.
I transferred 30 heroes to a wallet with a ledger. Sorry, no, I went from a ledger wallet to, which was even worse, a ledger wallet to a hot wallet. And every single transaction, it was like, send, punch in my approval on my ledger. And then it's like, wait, because it like in the UI, you can't even submit the next one until it completes for like a hero transfer. So yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. So we're kind of running low on time. I want to make sure if there's anything else you wanted to mention, Bloater Punch, Baby Punch, if you guys have any questions, kind of open it up.
I mean, this has been fascinating. Building is a process, and hearing about your guys' process and also the incoming functionality is super exciting. And it's also reassuring as someone who's been in DFK since October, that people like you guys are here building and confident and adding quality of life and functionality. I mean, we could spend a whole other session talking about pros and cons of bots and what should be there. Obviously, I've read your proposal. I think everyone should, by the way, but it's a super interesting topic.
Yeah, just take my money right now. That's all I gotta say. Just take my money, sign me up. So
yeah,
as a dad with kids, like I don't have the time I need to fully maximize my return in DFK. So this is like providing a lot of life back. So features like this just help you sustain. I mean, right now in DFK, I just don't think it's sustainable. it's not sustainable to own 50 plus heroes, especially 100 plus heroes. It's not sustainable unless you have features like this. So this provides a lot of real life time back.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking like with DFK Duel coming out, the cool thing about it is like your heroes can quest and you can do that at the same time. If I'm manually questing everything, it takes so long. It's like I kind of feel like I'm gonna have to choose. Like, am I going to manually quest my guys, or am I going to play DFK Duel because I will not have time to do both of those.
Yeah, I think that
So-
just goes back to the fun part of DeFi Kingdoms isn't collecting your quest, isn't sending your heroes on quests. The fun parts are, you know, thinking deeply about how you want to level up your hero, considering options in the tavern and trying to find good deals, you know, summoning a new hero. These are the parts of DeFi Kingdoms that, you know, you probably get the most joy from. I mean, I would say for me, that's where I enjoy the most. So it's not so much about the starting a quest and ending a quest. For DeFi Kingdoms, it's everything else that's so exciting about the project for me.
Yeah, I agree. Thanos, did you have anything else you wanted to mention?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we are all anti-bot in the sense that we want the game to incorporate these features built in rather than have third parties do them, right? Fill in this gap. But it is what it is right now, and there's no end in sight. And we are bridging the gap. That's how I feel like what I feel like I'm doing right here. And the last part I wanted to close with is the part of education. Is that there is a lot of educating work that needs to happen bottom up and top down, most importantly, on the community around the environment that DFK is operating on. Those are the kind of questions Bloater started the podcast with, like, is the game 100% on the blockchain? The answer is yes. And that means a lot of things. That means that the entire backend of the game is on the blockchain and people can interact with it by skipping the UI. This is the way it is, and there are no number of policies or wishful thinking or anything you can do about it. And that is how decentralized applications work. Now, whether you allow services like botting or worse to proliferate is dependent upon the gameplay that you employ, whether you allow the heroes to quest for 8 hours at a time versus a week at a time. It's this kind of features that you need to employ to eliminate, to make botting redundant and automation from a gameplay perspective, right?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I've always kind of been on the like my mindset is if you don't like build a game with features that incentivize the behavior you want to see. If you want to see people botting, then create tedious, just mind-numbing quests. If you don't want to see people do that, create content that requires strategic human like adaptive reaction. And I think we're getting there. I think that's where it's headed. I think that's where they're trying to get to that point. But until then, like you said, you've created a decentralized world. Everything's publicly available on the chain, and this is the world we live in now. So I guess I kind of want to segue that into a final statement, which is, again, the Intergrove is not associated with DeFi Kingdoms. DeFi Kingdoms, as far as I know, is not, they are not in support of botting. And so but like the reality is, like Thanos said, like it's out there and people are botting, and I don't think that community devs should be demonized for it, and that if as a community we really want to see like botting not happen, then we need to see and support the team to develop products that or I guess game features that make botting redundant.
Yep, well said.
Awesome, guys. Thanks so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
This is cool. I love seeing what other smart, sharp people are building. I say other as though I'm smart and sharp and I'm not, but There are
Oh, but you
others.
are.
There are others outside of me that are smart and sharp building stuff. So, thanks again, guys.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you coming on, guys.